third webinar this year regarding the Base27 releases. I'm Eldert Karstens, and you probably can also see Berend already on the screen.
Good morning, everyone.
So as usual, we present some stuff around what we as IsoSecure are doing. But this time I don't have a big agenda because we are very busy, but preparing for some interesting announcements, perhaps next webinar. So mainly today we'll be focusing on the outcome of and the results of the latest release to be presented by Berend. So Berend, here you go.
Yes, thank you, Eldert, for the opportunity, and welcome to all. I'm happy to show you some of the updates that we have been providing with the last couple of releases from Base27. Let me share my screen and then we can get into it. Sharing, yeah, that should be fine. So to kick things off, one of the most notable things, I think, and of which we are very happy with, is the kind of updated UI styling of Base27. It's not a huge difference, so it still feels familiar to most of our users. But you might have noticed that some of the corners now have been rounded and have been more smooth. And one of the major changes that we have provided in the last release actually is about the way the tables work. So here you see an overview of incidents and with the new styling, and one major change is how these tables now work. So previously there was well, it had another look and feel that has been changed, and most notably we have changed the way selections are made. So previously you could select a row and then make another selection with control and with shift and stuff like that. That still works, but we thought it would be more convenient if you could select by clicking a tick mark and then make multiple selections accordingly. However, if there are none of those selections, you still have a row that's kind of indicated with this blue line. That's what we call the clicked row. So if I would click edit, it would work on this clicked row. But if I would make multiple selections, you can still see if I would click edit, it would open up a row or number 29 here of these incidents. So that's still familiar there. Also, you can use grouping, which is a common thing already, but if you would like to select all of the normal incidents, you can quickly select on the group row itself and immediately select 5 of these incidents, or even select all of them by clicking the header one. So all kinds of small changes in the interactions with the tables, also because the title, for example, is now in bold, so it clearly stands out. The styling of the priority, or you see it here in the grouping, obviously has slightly changed, and that's throughout the system. But also the options on the tables has changed. The search option has become small until you click on it, then becomes big. The column selector, which I was happy to see that many users were quickly to find and understand what it would do and how it works. The same goes for showing incidents that have been completed already. It now stays highlighted so that you know, okay, it's still showing closed items. Now you can toggle more clearly. And obviously the filter options, I believe that was already in there in the last release. I'm not sure if we showed it during the webinar last time, but you have these quick selections in which you can say, okay, give me all the incidents from Ger de Jong based on owner, but obviously you can do a lot more here on quick filters. Also, options to refresh the data export to Excel, they are still here. They were there to some extent in the existing setup, but we've moved them down into a submenu because we feel like it's being used less than the other options that we would prefer to show. And finally, the pagination, as we call it, you can see that here below, has become more clear. Now, it's not a lot of incidents here, but if we would move to the risks, we will probably see that, yeah, there are a couple of pages which I can quickly navigate to. I can move forward, backwards. I always see the amount of total rows. It becomes more clear how the table data that you are showing interacts. So that's a big change. But some other changes are there as well. If we look at the context, one thing I would like to highlight is the information stub that has a new section, the authorizations, which kind of was there already, but at the reporting section, and it was more of a, well, showing what you have. But now it becomes a little bit more useful because if you have set up all the authorizations for the different information systems, you can now more easily see, okay, but what does it mean for a specific user? So if we would look and see for Erwin Buursink, we can see, okay, he has access for the group permissions by engineering, of which he is a member, and he has some roles within that system. When I would go to special permissions, I see, okay, the only one that he has special permissions to is the document signing system. And I can do that for various other users as well. That would help in finding out whether the correct permissions are set for a certain user, so doing your authorization checks. But it could also help you when you create a new user, assign it to a group, or groups that the user belongs to, and then on this tab you can easily see to which systems and in which roles the user should be assigned to. We can do that for various users. The system kind of shows only the relevant data, but if I would say, okay, show empty rows as well, so for these systems there is no assignments made, we can still have them in view as well. So that's a new function. Also new is that we have made the archiving of main objects within your context more consistent, in which there is now an archive button here for information systems. There is an archive button for processes, for suppliers, for the various custom attributes that you have, etc. And they all work in the same way. And it's the only way to do the archiving. So previously, when you were looking at a specific project, you would have an archiving option here, perhaps. Now there isn't. You have this button, which is only typically available to administrators to perform these kinds of actions. Moving on, conditional questionnaires, one of the major topics from the last release that's now found at a menu item called forms. This was previously called surveys, so we renamed it. And what we also did is we split the menu into several subsections. Previously, you had the question forms located at the questionnaires as well. Separate tabs. We kind of now separated it into a section where you can manage and maintain your questionnaire. So these are the setup, the list of questions that you would like to work with. And then the question forms is the ongoing, the actual assessments or questionnaires that you have sent out to various people and which they need to fill out and which you have an overview here. Looking at the conditional questionnaires then, let's see, we have a supplier assessment here, which has been set up to work conditionally. So what does that mean? Basically, your questionnaire consists of several categories, one general, one about security, one about NIS2. That's the way it's set up here. Obviously, that's to be changed. But when we look at the general section, we do see one question there. Is the supplier relevant, important, essential to the NIS2 directive? And depending on the answer, whether it's yes or whether it's no, we will, as a result, show, in this case, a certain category, the NIS2. So is the supplier relevant for the NIS2 directive? Yes. So then we would like to ask some more questions about NIS2, and we could ask some or make other sections, categories conditional as well. Once they are set to be conditional, we can see, in this case, for the NIS2 directive, that it is indeed a conditional category. And in this case, it depends on question 1.5. So from the first section, the fifth question, is the supplier relevant? And you need to have a yes, and then it will be shown. So you have this kind of view on what's conditional and what's not from the overview here. On the security tab, it's slightly different. There we have a couple of questions here, but we do see that depending on the answers given, for example, is there a statement of applicability? It's a multiple choice, and we can see that this question is dependent on the first one, whether the supplier has an ISO certificate or not. So again, we see this question is depending, but it's depending on this one. And if we look at it, we again see, okay, indeed, there are a couple of questions. It's actually multi-select, but we can say, okay, whenever the ISO 27001 is ticked, we can see then question 2 will be asked. The same applies if they have an N 7517, then the second question will be asked as well. So 2 options in which we would see question 2 or not. Within one section, so or category within the security, we can make other questions dependable on certain answers, and we can make other categories dependable, but we cannot make questions within other categories dependable on the answers given. So you can switch on, switch off entire categories from a basic question, or some of the questions within that same category. But that's mostly because of keeping things clear and understandable. And we found out that it works very well. So once this has been set up, let's see how it turns out to work for the end user filling out the question form. Maybe we should start a new one that's most convenient. The supplier assessment, so it needs to be reviewed. Let me review it again as well. Just starting off. So we have this setup, and notice that the NIS2 category is now not shown. So it's not in there. It appears not to exist. Obviously it does, but once we fill out a number of questions, and the main one, if you remember, is about, does the supplier, is it relevant to the NIS2 directive? If we would say yes, then yeah, then the NIS2 question section or category pops up as well, and we can fill out those questions as well. If we would say no, it would disappear similarly. If we look at the security, on the other hand, so we see that there are a couple of questions which are always there. But if we say, okay, yes, this supplier has an ISO certification, then we are going to ask for provide the certificate and statement of applicability. And from that point on, we can perform those steps as well. If we would say other or no ISO 27001, that question disappears again. Filling it all out, obviously the questions or categories that are conditional do not need to be filled out if they are not applicable, and you can complete and submit the question forms based on all the questions that you actually need to perform. So that kind of shows you the conditional questionnaires there. And we already saw some of our customers picking it up and configuring their questionnaires accordingly. Note, this is a enterprise based feature. So if you are on the standard edition, that's something that might not be available to you. Yeah. I do see there's a question. Is this questionnaire central available, or do I have to build it myself? I'm not sure if you mean a specific questionnaire or the functionality. So the functionality is based on the enterprise edition. There it is available. If you mean like a specific questionnaire, yeah, typically you have to build it yourself, but that could be done quite easily. It's not too difficult to set it up. I don't think this is the place to really make a demo of that, but oh, the questionnaire I showed. Okay. Well, the supplier assessment itself, it's nothing special, to be honest. There are some general questions there. We added this NIS2 stuff. Here, I know we made some questions based on control, so that's easy to create based on that. But we can help you out with setting up a starting point for such a supplier assessment as well. So thank you for the question. Please contact me by support or Hans, my colleague, for setting this stuff up in your environment. Moving on. On dashboarding, we have made some changes there as well. Again, the dashboards in general, they have been improved in terms of performance. They load more quickly, they load in parallel. There are a lot of things going on. You should not be bothered too much about it, just hopefully see that they work more intuitively. And of course, you know about the various dashboards and widgets that we have, but all of the widgets, or almost all of them, now have a new feature in there, which is quite nice. That if you look, for example, at this dreigingsprofiel, the threat profile, you can see, okay, there are a number of categories that have a high score. For example, the unauthorized access. If you want to drill down, you can use this specific icon to do the drill down, and you get into the data itself, and we can see that this unauthorized access is one of the, at least has a lot of risks involved to it. And below it, you can see that the actual risks are shown, which are contributing to this category. And if I want to look into it and see, okay, well, this one seems interesting, or maybe even this one because it has a high initial score, let's view. I can drill down to the actual risk. Obviously, if you have permissions to access this kind of data and the screen, then you can do that. But typically, you can drill down to the actual data involved here. So you see those at various widgets, and we also added a new widget, which we found sometimes our customers just want to have a kind of small list of a few items with, in this case, some strategic risks that they wanted to show, and you can have a basically a table configured for your dashboard, in which it shows some columns based on some source. In this case, we have some top 10 risks. It's not really 10, but that's due to the filtering. And the filtering is, in this case, we stated that the risk factor should be bigger than 55. And if it is, we consider it a top 10 risk, whatever condition you apply. On this topic, we also added another new feature, for example, that we only want to include risks that, for example, where the owner is the current user. Now, why would you do that? That might be because users have more information than, or at least have the permission to see more information that they are typically assigned to. But you want to have this widget in there that's specifically targeted at them specifically. So you can make this conditional filter work on the current user, which means in this case that it would only show risk assigned to me. But I will show later where it will come in handy as well. Other filters can be done as well more dynamically. If we look at the deadline, which is a date field, previously you only had stuff like this week, next week, stuff like that. But now we have a few things more, for example, today. So this is already very variable, but you can also say everything less than or equal than today. So you get all the risks that are kind of overdue. Well, technically that would mean just less than. So now everything that's less than today, that would mean it's overdue. And so I get a top 10 risks in this case that are assigned to me and that are overdue. That's basically what it's stating here. But these dynamic filters have been added in the last couple of releases. I'm not going to save it to not mess up my dashboard here. But in combination with those features and filters, we can now also configure certain dashboards for specific users, or better said, to specific user roles. And if we look at this one, for example, we can see all the roles that are available within the system. And we can dynamically decide what users with which specific role should have access to this specific dashboard. So in this case, it shows users from the assigned to the group example. But for example, if I would include managers, then all the users with the role manager will also see this specific dashboard. Now, in combination with just showing their own risks, for example, or having a widget that shows all the countermeasures overdue, it would have the option for a manager to immediately be notified, not on their assignments, but basically on a dashboard way to show what the actual information that they are concerned about is. Now, how would that look like? Well, I already signed it to me. And if you do, there's a new option in the start menu that shows My Dashboards. And the My Dashboards then shows all the dashboards, so that could be multiple of them, but at least the ones that have been assigned to a role that I have. So in this case, I'm assigned to the role example, and I do see this risks and countermeasures widget. And like I said, if you would apply something like only the current user or the deadline filters, which are dynamically, you would have an overview, not table-wise on my assignments, but basically directly, graphically in a dashboard way. Now, such users would maybe, especially for managers, you would like them to land on this My Dashboards page immediately instead of having them land on the My Assignments and then, well, you should click on My Dashboards. Well, that was already an option. Obviously, with their preferences, they can say, okay, where should I land? And they can set it to My Dashboard. So whenever I log in, the first thing I would see is My Dashboards instead of My Assignments. Again, you might not want to do that for, do not want to ask the user to set it up. So as an administrator, you can also, for that user, see, let's say, Gert de Jong. We had that one before. you can say, okay, start with my dashboard. So whenever Gert logs in, I've already, as an administrator, said that he should be land on the My Dashboards page. We've cleaned up this screen, by the way. You might have noticed it because previously all the information which I'm going to show was on the same page. So it was a bit crowded. So we tidied up, put the assigned roles in a different tab, where you can now have a more space for showing all the assigned rows. And the same goes for substitutions, something that you can use to change your profile with. Again, that's an enterprise feature, but you can see that these features are there. So if I would like to have Gert de Jong also to be a manager and land on this dashboard and have the permissions, etc. We can see now that he has this role. So if applied and it would switch to Gert, which I'm allowed to, then we will see that Gert, indeed, he will land on my dashboards. He has quite a few dashboards to look at. That's maybe a bit of an overload, but obviously this is a demo for that. So you can see how things work out. Let's switch back to my own profile. I'm still on the My Assignments. Let's go back into this user administration as well, because on the roles part, we did some small changes as well. And I wanted to highlight that as well, because there are only a few minor remarks in the release updates that we send out. But let's look at Gert de Jong again and the assigned roles. We did some changes here as well, because previously we had a role that was called read only. And the description would state that it provides read only access, but to everything within the system. Now that specific role has been renamed to read all. So it's more clear that when assigning this role, a user can read all the information within the system. And additionally, we added a role read only, but that's now a special role, and special roles in general, they kind of put up constraints or extend a specific role a bit. And in case of the read-only role, that means it will limit the access instead of extending it. And in this case, if you would say, okay, let's put in read-only, let's remove that one and maybe that one as well, just to clean it up. Normally, the operational execution role, they would allow a user to basically access all of the operational items and work with it without any constraints, basically. But now we say, okay, you are still able to access them, but it's only read-only. So instead of being able to edit and save, which they would have by the operational execution, it's now constrained, limited to read only. So that's a slight change, obviously. We might want to show it quickly. Let's do another switch to Gert de Jong and see what it does. So we removed some roles and stuff, so that's why it's dropped down. But yeah, we can see he has access to all of this information. And previously, for example, on the countermeasures, he still has quite a bit of access in showing it. But when he does, he has only read-only view instead of being able to edit it, which he would have without this read-only role. Yes, that's one of the things I would want to highlight. And basically, I want to move on to the last part of the webinar. And that's about some updates about the frameworks that we support. We had a customer event at the beginning of this month in which we show that that Base27 does offer a lot of functionality to maintain multiple frameworks, but obviously to work with multiple frameworks, you have to have a lot of frameworks. And again, we've extended our set of frameworks that we support. One major one, which was coming along, obviously, is the Bio 2.0, especially for governmental bodies. They need to comply to the Bio, and that's now available. Note that just like the NEN 517, this is one that's built on top of the ISO certification or the ISO framework, I should say. And it has what we call subcontrols. So, for example, you have this 5.02, information security roles and responsibilities. And that one has subcontrols. And if we show that, we can see, okay, yeah, there is a 5.2.1 that's specifically about the BO in respect to the 5.2 in general. So it kind of extends on them. And if we would only show frameworks for this framework, basically what it means in terms of the BO, it shows you all of the subcontrols that have been added on top of the ISO. So that's the way it works. And obviously, if we would revert this and we look at this 5.2, we can access the subcontrols directly as well from the control tab here as well. Yeah, that's one. The Bio, there have been some small updates, for example, on the 9001. But one thing I would like to point out is a framework that we put a lot of effort in. That's the Dutch healthcare laws. Obviously, that's only for our customers active in healthcare. I would say mostly active with the NEN 517. Which we set out to support them in making this assessment of which laws and regulations are relevant to them. And there are a lot of laws and regulations that are applicable when you look at the healthcare. And so we try to help them out in setting up which laws potentially would be applicable to them. And you can see a lot of them. There are some EU-based regulations as well. For example, the MDR and the IVDR, they are in here. Some other well-known laws as well. And for each of them, if you look at them, you can see that there is what we call a toepasselijkheid or applicability section, which kind of states in which cases would this specific law be applicable to you or your organization? And if so, you can say, okay, well, yeah, it does apply to me. And then kind of the way that it works with frameworks within Base27 is shown as well. In some cases, there is some additional information there as well, which we felt like could be meaningful. And once it does, and we've said that this is applicable, obviously you could look at the other articles that are applicable to you as well at that point. It does not include the entire law and all its articles because we felt like we wanted to narrow down to the sections, the articles of each law that would be relevant for achieving a NEN 517 certification or in general complying to the healthcare. You may want to add something here if you feel like, okay, but this specific article or this specific law would be useful as well. You can still add more sections to it, but we will maintain this framework as well. There's a big explanation to it as well, the additional info, which sets out what this framework is all about, how things work, how we are going to maintain it. It also provides a quite extensive overview of where each law would apply in the field of healthcare. So here you have this kind of healthcare supplier, which is in the center of the picture, and you can see, okay, there's some governmental stuff. You might have a different supplier that you interact with, or you have some suppliers in general, your clients. So these laws do apply. So it tries to highlight where each law applies to, and you can decide whether they apply to you depending on your situation. And obviously, there's a lot more here. One last thing, this framework is not for free. We put in a lot of effort here. We are going to maintain it as well. So that means that there is a fee to be paid for acquiring this framework, which is set at 1,250 euros from the top of my head. So take that into account, that there is an additional fee involved. It's a one-time fee though, but still. I see there is a small question there. Is that the same for NIS2 controls and subcontrols, just like the BO? I don't think the NIS2 has been set up with SIP controls. No, it's integrated fully, the NIS2, with all the articles. And it does not have subcontrols, although, to be honest, mainly on Article 21, you have these A, B, C, D, E, F, G till G. You could consider them subcontrols. We might want to mark them as such, but in this framework, that has not been applied as such. Thank you for that question. One question from Gerard there. A framework containing the relevant regulations for a governmental organization would also be interesting. Is that perhaps on the roadmap? Not specifically, but we would like to team up, maybe achieving something like that. Obviously, we have these Dutch laws in general, but these are not targeted at governmental organizations, although it will probably be a starting point anyway. Because if you look at the laws that are included here, some of them will apply to governmental bodies as well, but they can be extended with additional laws as well. This one, by the way, this Dutch laws is a free framework that we provide to all our customers if they like to indicate to what extent certain laws are applicable to them, etc. So it's not on the roadmap to target a framework specifically for governmental organizations, but if you feel like, okay, that's something that we could work on together, then we're open to discussing that. That kind of wraps up the stuff I wanted to share with all of you. If you still have some questions, ask them now, but obviously you can always contact us using the support options, start a support request, and we will help you out as quickly as possible. And that might also be because you've seen something that you're really interested in, want some help, or maybe want to reach out for that, and you're free to do so. So yeah, thank you. Thank you for the comments. Eldad, anything to add to the webinar?
Well, again, Berend, impressive, because I'm quite close to what you're doing, but I picked up some new interesting points. So that's really interesting to share further with our clients, I think, more intensively, but that's for later. Well, if there's no more questions, I think we can close the webinar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we do that? Okay. And then hope to see you all next time in about 4 months.
Yeah, that will be in the next year, I guess. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Next year.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.